Hello, and it's Saturday, the first Saturday in Lent, and some reflections. I don't know how you've been doing with your Lent experience of either giving up or taking things on. I'm now 4 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days into my Lent diet, and it's tough. It's tough. I've decided to give up most of the things that I enjoy eating because I've got a sweet tooth and I'm not having anything like that. And it's really hard, especially when you see other people tucking in. Yeah, tough. Perseverance. That's the sort of word that I'm toying with today, and I encourage you to explore it as well. Keep going, because I'm going to try and keep going too. Yesterday, in the afternoon, early afternoon, I had a graveside funeral service at Stanley Cemetery. Now, you probably remember what the weather was like yesterday. It wasn't very nice, but we kept going, even though we were getting a bit wet and dreadfully cold because the wind was icy. To my surprise, I discovered that I knew one of the mourners. It was a guy called Tony, who many of you who are attached to Southmoor may know. He often comes into church for the worship and sits towards the back. He's had a tough life. He found Jesus in the middle of all his difficulties. He's got an amazing story, really. Not that he's extremely fond of really talking about himself. And church has been a lifeline for him, over the years since then. It was his mother-in-law's funeral. He had missed church. He's not into computers at all. He'd felt a bit cut off. He'd had a few blips along the way, but he'd kept going. He found his religious appetite assuaged to a certain extent by watching songs of praise each week, but he's really looking forward to worshipping again and seeing the folk at Southmoor once again. He's keeping going. Perseverance. Of course, that's the name of the vehicle that they've just landed on Mars as well. 3 million miles away. Launched in July last year, 7 months ago. Finally got there and ended up bang on the right place that they'd aimed for, and bang at the right time that they'd been planning for as well. What an amazing endeavour to have something that's so amazing, but actually it comes through. They persevered with all the research after previous landings had gone a bit wonky, and they couldn't get the results back, and they kept going, and good results have come. We had a little bit of childcare yesterday with our little grandson Levi coming along to spend the day with us. He's doing potty training, and that's a time for perseverance, isn't it? But actually he's done brilliantly. He's had a few mishaps, as everybody does, but he's just in a few weeks really gone from being able to think about sitting on the potty to now going to the big toilet. I mean, what a great achievement, what a life skill. And he's managed it. He kept going. He didn't let it bother him too much when things didn't quite go right. But he's won through. The gospel passage that's set for today is about our need to keep going no matter what, when we have messed up and when we got things right as well. It's the transfiguration story, that amazing mountaintop experience story of Jesus and Peter and James and John going up the mountain and having this amazing experience of God and the prophets and Jesus himself being exalted and affirmed. Luke is the only one of the gospel writers who talks about the disciples being sleepy when they went up there. It's almost as if he's trying to find an excuse for the way in which they got things so amazingly wrong, despite being so privileged to have that amazing experience. It came immediately after, in Luke's gospel, Jesus has just said, if you want to follow me, you've got to take up your cross each day. So he's been talking about tough stuff, and it's been hard going for them to understand. And he takes these three up to the mountaintop to share an amazing experience of God's presence. And what does Peter do? Well, first thing that he gets wrong is he wants to put up some sort of chapel. Well, 3 of them for the 3 great figures in the vision. He wants to commemorate the past. He wants to somehow build shrines in order that that experience can sort of be, I don't know, made into stone, I suppose, almost literally. And sometimes we look at the past a little bit like that. Do you remember, that Billy Graham campaign? Or do you remember that preacher who came and set us all on fire? Or do you remember that time when we had that amazing festival and everything was wonderful? Do you remember when we did that musical? And it's as if we're looking back because we haven't got something to praise now or look forward to. We've got to keep going. We've got to keep going in hope. We've got to persevere in expecting that God will keep turning up as we keep turning up for him. But the second thing that Peter got wrong, and the other 2 as well, James and John, was that at the end of the set passage it says they didn't tell anybody what had happened to them. And I think that's what frustrates me, really. That we are people who will talk quite readily about the weather or about the news or about what's happening in the football or even what's happening at church. But we won't actually talk about our faith and what it means to us and the experiences we have of God's presence and God's joy. We keep silent about it like those 3 did. So I hope that we might today be encouraged to persevere on our Lenten journey, and that we'll find all kinds of support and strength along the way, but that we'll keep going in all the uncertainty of these times, that we'll keep going because God is with us, and that's all that really matters. God bless you.